Well, Vauxhall isn't bringing it to the UK, but for Opel, the GT is a new two-seater sports car. The GT name is a reference to the past. Between 68 and 73, a previous GT was produced. It was the first European car to go into production after being presented as a concept in a move initiated by Chevrolet and Corvette. And it's no coincidence that all the brands are part of the GM family. After the last model, which Opel called the Speedster, the brand is renewing its links with the past for its new sports car. Aesthetically, the new GT is very pleasing to the eye. The long bonnet and the rounded lines are reminiscent of coupes of the past. The tight lines and air scoops give the GT an original neo-retro look. The GT is unique in its styling, yet its Opel identity is clear to see through its lights and the line down the bonnet. In the creation of niche vehicles like this type of coupe, designers are much less restricted than for mass-market models. The customer base is much more targeted, so it's a chance for their imagination to run wild. The GT is the result of global cooperation, with involvement from design studios in England, Germany and the US. From certain angles, the GT resembles a small Corvette, even more so as it's in yellow. The 2-litre Ecotec engine is also new. The block itself has been around for some time, but thanks to new technologies such as direct injection and variable distribution, it outputs 130 horsepower per litre, better than any previous Opel. The interior is somewhat sparse, very American, with an engulfing central tunnel which houses a small gear lever. The level of equipment is good, but it's about time Opel stopped using hard plastics. Well, nobody can say that the GT hasn't undergone plenty of work on its chassis. It's been made more rigid, its centre of gravity has been lowered, and the weight distribution is almost perfect, with 51% at the front, 49% on the rear. Unfortunately, the GT has a hard act to follow in the Speedster. At 1,395 kilos versus 930, there's no contest in terms of agility, and despite an additional 65 horsepower, the GT takes an extra 0.8 of a second to reach 100 kilometers per hour. Its top speed is lower as well, 288 versus 247. It's the same story for the handling. The Speedster was a precision model, while the GT is more about brute force. The chassis suffers on the smallest of bumps, while the front end is heavy through slow corners and much too light through high-speed ones. In summary, Opel's GT has the styling and the engine. It's a European muscle car, but just not very sporty.